ABC7 is celebrating Asian Pacific American Heritage Month in May. So I've been looking for unique Asian American stories to tell, to share with our viewers. And I'm really glad I found the story of Susan Lieu. Lieu, right?
Yeah, rhymes with you.
Okay, we got that. Because I think you have such an interesting life story, filled with a lot of pain, but a lot of joy and happiness as well, and ultimately a celebration. So you're, let's see, you wear lots of titles. Here we go. Entrepreneur, right? Former management consultant.
Correct.
First generation.
Correct.
Right? And now you're a performer and activist.
That's right.
Okay, so that's kind of an untraditional combo of experiences and titles there.
I mean, or we could say all the traditional people are pretty traditional.
That is another way to look at it, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, how old are you?
I'm 34.
And you grew up here in the Bay Area. Where?
That's right. I was born in San Leandro. We grew up in San Pablo. Our first nail salon was in Albany. And then I spent most of my childhood in Santa Rosa in the North Bay.
Okay, so now you're living in Seattle.
That's right.
But you're back in San Francisco because you're doing a one-woman show you created and you star in it. 140 pounds. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so it's the true story of how my mom died from plastic surgery malpractice and my search to find the man responsible for her death. And so this all took place in the last 4 years. I've been searching for this man, and I wanted to avenge my mother's death. And what I ended up finding was actually
in a perfectly legal way.
It was super legal,
Yeah.
super legal.
Yeah.
And what I ended up finding was actually her. Because I lost her when I was 11 and my family didn't want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And in doing all this work, then I created a 70-minute dramedy where I play 11 characters, including all of my brothers, my husband, my sister, a guy at Sizzler. And I take viewers through the journey of what is it like to be a Vietnamese refugee, to grow up in America as an immigrant, to be a woman and deal with body image issues, and how we deal and don't deal with grief.
Okay. I totally want to do a deep dive into your show in just a moment. And because also I love this poster, right? The postcard.
Designed by Stacey
awesome.
Nguyen in Seattle.
Wow.
She's amazing.
Okay, it is amazing. But I want to give people a better sense of what exactly happened. So you lost your mom. I'm really sorry about that, by the way.
Thanks.
And you were 11, so that must have been so hard. But how old was she?
She was 38.
Okay, and she went to get plastic surgery for what?
A tummy tuck, the narrowing of her nostrils, and a chin implant, and this all happened on Geary Boulevard.
I was going to say, how does she, so you were living in Santa Rosa, but she found this doctor in San Francisco. How did that happen?
This man largely advertised in the weekly newspapers that were Vietnamese in the Bay Area. And so he had it translated into Vietnamese, and it talked about how he had volunteered during the Vietnam War to help the Vietnamese. And so he had a lot of goodwill in the Vietnamese community, and so she thought he was a good guy. What she didn't know was his track record.
What was his name?
Dr. Leslie Moglin.
Okay. I mean, I asked, it is out there, it's public, it's been in the news.
Is public.
I do remember that from so many years ago. I don't want you to have to say it a lot, but some of our viewers may remember that.
Right. And for me, it's just like I want to protect their family, because, that is still hard for them too, I'm sure.
I get it.
Yeah.
Of course. But so she went there. Did anything seem off? I mean, I know you weren't there. You were so young, she probably went without you, but from your conversations with your family, did anything seem not right?
Right. So my family never wanted to talk about it. And it was until I went back to the old law firm that we worked with when we tried to sue him. They shared thousands of pages of depositions with me. They should have, thrown them out after 7 years after the case. They kept it for 22 years, went into the vault, took it out for me, and then I started reading thousands of pages to find out the story.
Okay, so what did you find out about, what happened to her during surgery and what was in the doctor's records that you should have known maybe but didn't?
Right. So 2 hours into the surgery, she loses oxygen to her brain. This could have been because he was doing a different form of anesthesia than usual. That's a hypothesis. So once that happens, he tries to resuscitate her, nothing happens. And instead of calling 911 immediately, he waits till 14 minutes to make the 911 call. And usually at the 4-minute mark, you have permanent brain damage. And when I retraced the steps of her last day last year, I found out that the plastic surgery clinic was 2 blocks away from Mount Zion Hospital, where she laid in the coma. So that's one element to it, which was this could have been prevented.
Yeah.
And also what I found really interesting was it said that they had to give her Valium that day because she was unusually nervous. That's what the doctor said in his deposition. So I'm wondering, like, oh, what was my mom thinking? Did she know something was going to go wrong?
Right.
Right?
Right. Or maybe it was just typical nerves. Who knows? So many mysteries, so many unanswered questions. But what happened to him in the aftermath?
Right. So we had tried to sue him, and he didn't have malpractice insurance. And so he lost his license. We didn't get any money from him. He lost his license for 4 years and then continued to practice and was
Even though there was the death of your mom, and incidents with other patients, right? Where
that's right.
they got settlements, I think, because things went wrong.
I think there was the highest settlement was maybe $40,000 or something like that.
But there were other stains against him.
There were 24 lawsuits against him. He was on probation, no malpractice insurance, sanctioned by the medical board twice. And what he got dinged for was not calling 911 in a timely manner and having poor medical records in the facility. But there were, the examiner had done an expose on him talking about just how dirty the facility was and how post-op a lot of women were damaged for the rest of their lives.
Have you connected with some of those other patients?
I didn't reach out to the patients, but I actually tried reaching out to his family.
Why? Why did you want to do that?
I'm Buddhist, and I'm supposed to be compassionate and loving to everyone. And I felt really angry. And after my mom was taken away, I just wanted to meet him and humanize him. And when I finally went to go reach out to him, I found out that he died the month prior.
And when was this, when you tried to reach out?
This was, I'd say, sometime 2014.
Was that important to you for closure?
Well, originally I wanted to avenge my mother's death, right? I was just angry. I felt
legally?
Totally legally, but I thought, there was targeting towards an ethnic minority group. And
in the way he targeted the ads in the Vietnamese community.
Right, and then also, my mom was signing all these agreements. She didn't know what she was signing. Yeah. What I found in the documents, when it says hey, do you have a history of this condition, folks will look at it and go, no.
Right.
And then there's a question in the form that says, do you understand the risks associated with this? And she also ticks off no. And there's a series of things where she should now be doing.
Not yes.
Correct.
So that should have been a red flag. He should have said, hey,
correct.
You do not understand what you're
right.
signing away here.
And while he had a Vietnamese translator working for him, there was something missing in the process.
Yeah. After you lost your mom, what did life become for your family? How did it impact you?
It was really hard. We were 4 kids and a single dad. We had a nail salon. My aunts and grandparents moved out of our house. So we used to be 13 people in a 4-bedroom house, and all of a sudden there's 3 people. And it becomes really quiet and sad, and my dad stopped singing karaoke on Sunday mornings, and I don't have the grandma there to greet me when I come home and make food for us. And now my sister and I are responsible for helping my dad at the nail salon in high school. And making sure that things are going to go okay, but we nearly became bankrupt. My dad was trying to support 4 kids.
And that nail salon was everything to your family, right?
Right.
They moved here from Vietnam, your parents, with, I assume, nothing?
Nothing. They came from a one dirt road in the Mekong Delta. My parents both didn't finish 9th grade.
Yeah.
They came here with nothing, yes. And then within 8 years of arriving here, we bought our first house in San Pablo. They were living the American dream.
Yeah.
And part of that is, eventually my mom had enough money to do something not just for the family, but for herself. And when I look back on all this, it's not about making a judgment call. I do believe in a woman's right to choose. Mm-hmm. It's about making educated decisions and just knowing what you're getting into.
Mm-hmm. Total respect for whatever was motivating her to do this for herself. But what do you think it was? How does this tie into the title 140 pounds?
Yeah.
Was there a body image issue for her, you think?
So here's part of the investigation piece, right? So I'm going through all the depositions, and I see on all the medical forms she writes that she's 110 pounds.
Even though she was 140 pounds.
Correct. So, and then there's a medical board document when they finally say to the doctor, okay, we're going to take your license away. It says, this is very unusual. That Jennifer Ha, that's her English name, writes that she's 110 pounds in all her documents because in the end, she was actually 140. And when I'm reading this alone in my bedroom, I start crying up and tearing up because I realize I'm 140 pounds too. And so this mom that I've been searching for to know my entire life, I realized we actually had the same exact body type.
So much in common, right?
Right.
You're like a mini me to her.
Right. And so in a way, you know, I've been having my own body image stuff all my life. All my life.
For what? You look amazing.
Thank you.
But why? Why do you think you were, feeling that insecurity all your life?
I mean, just growing up, like, to wear a Vietnamese áo dài, and that's why I'm wearing it today, it's like, to look good in it, you have to have, we always call them angles, eo, it has to be a certain way. And if you're too big, which I've always been, size 4, size 6, size 8, I'm not a 00. I'm not the 0. I'm not the 2.
By American standards.
Correct.
But you're right. And the Chinese have the same cham sam, where you
right.
really have to be
right.
a pencil.
That's right. And growing up, we used to watch Paris by Night, and I remember my family would always be like, "Oh, she's fat. She gained weight," and then they disappear from the show. So growing up, I knew what my culture thought was beautiful.
No, it's interesting, right? Because when I go to Asia and shop, I get a large.
Oh, yeah.
Which you're thinking, how did I become a large?
Right.
So you're right. There is that cultural aspect of feeling like I'm bigger than everybody else.
Right. And I'm triple XL.
Yeah.
And that's fine because when you think about it, what is this about? This is about our agrarian society. Like back in our home countries, back then there was famine. There was war. Yeah. There was all this uncertainty, so actually there was a lot of malnutrition.
We could survive longer this way.
Oh yeah, girl, I can survive an apocalypse for like at least 3 months, right?
Yeah, you're gonna make it. You're right. That the standard was different.
Its standard was different. The conditions are different. And so now, me being born in America, having access to more nutrition, that's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
But was my nickname called refrigerator growing up? Was I always poked fun at? And did my godmother used to say no one would ever love me unless I lost weight? So then I started thinking, oh my God, love is so conditional. It's all about my body. That's what I have to give and offer. And so I spent most of my adolescence and being a young woman thinking, if only I could lose that extra 5 or 10 pounds. And so that's why the name of my show is 140 pounds, because yes, me and my mother have the same body, the same weight. And also, why do we always hide that?
Right.
Like, why do we hide our age and our weight and as if there's shame around it? But guess what? We're mortal. Yeah. We are going to age and die. We are.
We embrace this 140 pounds.
Right.
And how old are you?
I'm 34.
And I'm 49, and we love it.
Yeah, hey girl. And it's so funny now, walking around Seattle, the city, people are like, hey, you're 140 pounds. And I go, I'm 135 to 140, depending if I'm bloated or not, but it's like, it's in a way declaring my weight. Yeah. It's taking away the power around the shame around weight.
And it's so interesting that affects all of us. I mean, even if you look at your mom, she came here from Vietnam, she built this business, she has a family, she's successful, yet she still had that insecurity.
Who doesn't? All that. Who doesn't have that insecurity? Yeah. Right?
No, that's a good question. So you've built that into your show.
That's right.
Which you really question that,
yeah.
right? The foundation of that, and why do we feel that?
Right.
All right, so let's talk more about the show.
Okay.
I promised the deep dive. So you play 11 roles?
Yes.
That is crazy. Okay. Can you do a little bit of your favorite? And I know there's a scene that's really powerful in which you're spirit channeling your mom and you're having this conversation with your mom.
Right.
Can you perform that for us?
The 20 questions?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this occurs near the end of the show, and I've gotten to finally have this conversation I wanted to have with her.
Because you never did. She died when you were 11.
That's right. That's right. And so she starts to fade. She starts to fade and she's going away, and all I want to do is to hold her back. So I go, wait. Do you think I'll make a good mom? Everybody have their own destiny. Wait, that last day, that last thing I said to you, I've been holding on to it for 20 years, and Ma, I just want to say, hey, I know what you mean. I want you to focus on school because I not finished 9th grade. Trời đất ơi, you're my daughter. Wait, when you were a little girl, what did you want to be when you grew up? What attracted you to Ba? Could you tell me all of our happy moments together? What did you love about me? That day when we were driving home on the Bay Bridge, why did you get out of the car and walk home on the freeway? Did you watch me sleep with all those men who weren't important to me? Does it make you feel sad when I hate my body too? When I light incense for you and ask you for help, does it really work? How would I know for sure? When the spirit channeler says you come to me in the form of small birds, is she telling the truth, or is she just trying to make me feel better? Do you believe in destiny or free will? Knowing everything you know now, what are you most afraid of? Did I disappoint you? Do you think I'll make it as a performer? What do you think of my husband, Marvin? What's your advice for giving birth? If I have a daughter, how do I make her love her body? When can you hold me again? How can I summon you? How am I like you? You know now. Manyak con. Đừng ngoan.
Oh my gosh.
I wish I could ask her that. And I wish for everyone, for people and their relatives and their especially, parents, and Asian American parent-child relationships are hard. I want them to hug me and process with their emotions, and they just want to feed me, right?
That is their way of expressing love.
And I know
every
that.
bite you eat, you know that's love right there.
And everybody eat, and then they say, "Hey, you look fat. You need to lose some weight." And so it's so
That's a way to show that they care.
It's the tension, and that's it. That is the tension. That is how we show love. Because back then, when there was war all the time, the only thing that we knew was for certain was that next meal.
That's right.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so we carry that with us, but it hurts.
I tell you, to this day, whenever, we come back from a trip or I'm not feeling well, the first thing my parents do is brush over with food.
Yeah. Just in case, so you don't die. Huh? Yeah.
That is so relatable. By the way, that was an amazing job. Your training, I don't even know how much of it you had, but to reach that level of where I felt like you were grabbing my soul, and I was just so enraptured by it. What did you do to train as an actress? Because, come on, you were an entrepreneur, you're a management consultant, you went to Harvard, Yale. What led you to this? How did you become so amazing?
Well, okay.
On stage.
10 years ago, it was the Mayan calendar. It was 2011, the brink of 2012. Yeah. And I wasn't sure if it was going to be the end of the world.
The world was going to end, yeah.
Right. It could have been like Y2K, or it could have been for real, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, my biggest regret would be to not ever really give performance a shot. You've
always had the calling.
I've always had a calling, and I've always been performing with the chocolate company. I was the front woman doing chocolate and wine tastings, or chocolate making classes, talking about the company.
Wait. That's another story, which is our next deep dive. But go on.
Right. And in high school, I led the high school rallies. I was always on the PA system. I always had a calling for one-to-many communication, and I was always entertaining, right? And so I had some startup training as a stand-up for about a year in San Francisco. I headlined at the Purple Onion. It was super fun.
Okay.
And then I started getting heckled.
Oh,
and it was traumatizing and scary. And then I was like, who am I kidding? This is so silly.
Uh-huh.
And then
this is all while you were working
the chocolate company.
Corporate jobs, right?
No, that was 10 years ago. Was chocolate company.
Okay.
Yeah. And then about 3 years ago, I'm in Seattle. Just got married, management consultant. And then we're thinking about kids, right? These eggs are not getting any younger, right? You can't turn them back time. They're disappearing, actually. Oh my God.
That's right.
And so I said, if we have kids, I want to live in integrity with my children. If we say things that are hallmarky, like dare to dream and dream to dare, but I didn't do that.
You're not living it.
Yeah, and I'm the coward.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'm resentful, or I want to live through them and do all that stuff that then I'd have to pay for their therapy for. I'm not gonna do that. Girl, no.
Yeah.
So then I said, okay, I want to time box it, and I want to give this performance thing a shot. And so I started doing some improv in Seattle. I was working with Jet City Improv, took a solo performance class, and then first day of class, assignment, tell a 5-minute story. And I said, okay, I wanted to avenge my mother's death. And they were like, oh my God, is this true?
Everyone's like, I'm scared of this woman now. Okay.
But that was it. I mean, I had a lot of anger that I didn't get to process.
Yeah, it was never resolved.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, this is just unjust. Yeah. And if I stand for justice, right, I also have done international development work. I've worked in Cuba, India, Zambia, Vietnam. I've done other things there. If I want to do that for the world, I need to do that for my family. And then I started working on the show, and one thing led to another, and left corporate America, and here I am.
I mean, did you get a financial backer? Did you get?
You mean my husband?
Oh yeah, okay.
No, I mean, for me, it's about careful risk taking.
Yeah.
So I have an MBA from Yale, right? And it's like, what are your metrics? What's your goal? By what time, right? We set KPIs for this. And
what are those?
KPI, key performance indicators.
Oh, okay.
So how you know you're doing good, girl, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I don't want you to just be a free spirit with this. You have business school loans to pay.
Right.
And when times are good, I max out my 401k, right? And so we set goals. And then I formed 2 LLCs. One is called Meta Consulting, which means loving kindness. I work on social impact issues. And so since then, I worked on the Ebola crisis, global nutrition, and now I'm working on making tech more gender diverse. And so that was where most of my money was coming from. And say 80% was coming from consulting, 20% from art. And now we have flipped the equation, 80% art, 20% consulting.
Huh. Okay, now I know you're not the typical performer. That's crazy. I mean,
I can't be a starving artist. I love ramen. I love ramen.
Yeah, no starving.
No, I can't. I can't.
Culture. Yeah, just a well-fed artist.
Right.
All right, so that's great. You've gotten great reviews in Seattle where you premiere the show,
right?
So in San Francisco now you're here as part of CamFest,
That's right.
Which is such a fantastic outlet for emerging Asian American both filmmakers and performance artists. So tell me what you're doing with them this week.
Right. So last weekend I got to premiere with them on Mother's Day weekend. We did 2 performances in New People Theater. Okay. Yes, and I did a live performance. I did a talk back after each show. We gave out Sokola chocolates there. And on Mother's Day, we had my 2 siblings do the talk back too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
What do people say to you? What kind of reception and responses are you getting from the audience?
I mean, a lot of it is they're just saying what's triggering for them. Their own body issues, their own death stuff, things in the medical space. So they're saying that for them. And then they say, hey, this is really healing for me. Thank you. And so what usually happens after a show is it's a line forms that feels like it's a wedding line, but also a funeral line. It's solemn, but it's rich. There's a lot of crying usually, but there's so much.
That's how people relate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I related in that, I think about, I'm so fortunate my parents are still here, and I talk with them regularly, see them regularly, but there are always things that you go, I won't get to this, and what if I don't get to that?
Right.
What about, I don't want to miss out on anything.
Right.
And everybody's got that, that clock that's ticking in. And I think your show forces us to think about how we're going to use that time that we have.
Right, because I mean, here my whole search is with someone who's dead. And the thing is we have plenty of estranged relationships with people who are alive.
Yes.
And we all think we'll get to it later.
Yeah.
And the question is you don't know when you're going to die. I don't know when I'm going to die. So we need to start living like we're alive.
Yeah, and never go to bed angry, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's great that people are enjoying the show and they're coming to talk to you about it. And you've got several more screenings in the Bay Area, right? And then what's after the Bay Area?
Right, so after the 5 shows at the Marsh, which are happening this week, I am going back to Seattle and I'm going to be part of the Moth main stage. The Moth has events all over the country and I was selected as the Seattle storyteller. So that will be in Benaroya Hall, 2,500 seats. Then 2 days later, I go to Portland State University, and then I'll have an encore performance back in Seattle in July 18 to 21.
Congratulations. Do you feel like Asian American performers are well supported and storytellers are well supported these days?
No, absolutely not. I mean, yes, I'm so glad Crazy Rich Asians was a success. Awesome, great. Yeah. But if we can only point to Joy Luck Club and Crazy Rich Asians and boy, wasn't Bruce Lee great, that's still a problem. There is definitely progress, and I think our community is finally mobilizing to show up and make sure opening night is full. But the thing is, I don't think Asian Americans have like a theater going background. We don't have a history of that. We couldn't afford going to art growing up.
Right.
And so I have a very diverse audience base, and I would love Asian people to support me more.
Are you finding that actually your theater's packed not with Asians?
It depends every night. It depends every night. You know, if I do outreach and say, hey, I'm doing this, please come. Please come many times. They will show up. But the thing is, they just don't naturally go to theater.
There is a degree of practicality among immigrants, right? And how you spend both your time and money.
You know,
busy working.
I'm going to say something pretty controversial.
Yeah, go for it.
You know,
digital, so it's all good.
Right. But you know, like how when you go out to eat Asian food, say you want it to be a certain price range.
Right.
And the high-end Asian food, sometimes deep down you go, oh, this is kind of a lot to pay.
Exactly.
But when you have high-end Italian food or French food, essentially Western countries, colonialists, all those things, for some reason that rationalization changes.
It really does. But why?
Well, let's think about that, right? And so when we think about entertainment, what are we willing to pay for and why? And then when it's like support your brothers and sisters, how much are you willing to pay for that? And Kristen, I mean, there's plenty of Asian people who come to support out. You know, D-Van was a totally big supporter, Diaspora Vietnamese Artists Network. They were totally there. You know, it was huge. It was great. But the thing is, we need more things like CAM to exist for everyone to feel proud of their culture, to see what's possible, and also to attract more funding to this. Right? It's cyclical. What we see on the screen is also what is funded financially. Well, who are the funders, right? So you got to go back to the money on that. And a lot of the funders are not Asian.
Rich Asian success has been great because it's really green-lighted a lot of projects and gotten investors on board with more Asian American stories.
Awesome.
Right?
Keep doing it. And we got to do it at every level. That's Hollywood, right? That's creme de la creme. That's big budget. And so how do you get
on the lower level,
how do you get to that place, right, of being seen and heard? And that takes, you know, we got to have grassroots support for people that are up and coming. And other people, right? So we are always voting with our dollars. And so when we ever cringe, when we think, oh, I wouldn't pay that much for that, we need to think twice about why and think about our own biases in that and think about the role of colonialism.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I wanted to get to the chocolates.
I'm not surprised.
I was saving the best for last. Because of all the many hats you wear, you are also a chocolatier.
That's right.
And this is really special because it's a business that you and your sister started, right? And you got your roots because of your mom's nail salon.
That's right.
Tell me about that.
We used to sell our chocolates every summer in front of our parents' nail salon during the farmers market in Santa Rosa. And it was my sister's passion to learn how to make chocolate. And for me, I'm the front woman, right? I like to sell. I love to talk to people. And so we were an amazing duo because, you know, she is the true chief chocolatier. She's the artist behind it. And I was able to help execute her vision.
How did you guys learn how to make it? How does she discover, you know, the tricks?
Yeah, so our nail salon was across the street from C's Candy.
Okay.
And so every day we'd walk by and then we'd see samples and then we eat them. We wonder, how do these people make it?
Because you couldn't afford to actually buy them.
Oh, hell no, girl. We just have the samples. Yeah, it's like Costco.
Costco samples.
It's just like Costco. So then we would go, and that was fascinating to my sister. So she found a recipe in Gourmet magazine. And she started experimenting. And back then, in those days, we were crazy. We were actually like tempering and heating up the chocolate using a microwave. If you actually meet anyone in the confectionery space, they're going to think you're crazy.
They don't do that way, no.
Because you have to control the heat. But we started timing it to the very second. We were experimenting all the time because it brought her joy. And I wanted to help her execute that vision. And now she has a storefront in Soma, which has been there for the last 5 years.
Sokala.
Yeah, Sokala.
Which means
chocolate in Vietnamese.
Oh, I love it.
Yes,
okay. And
yes.
just so you know, I've seen you before at events.
Yeah.
And look at these. I don't know if we can get a close up, but basically, these are Asian-inspired flavors.
That's right.
Tell me about the flavors.
So in the middle row is Ma Nhia Gong, so that's passion fruit vanilla bean. That's the one line from the show that I ended with, because, you know, passion fruit vanilla bean, passion fruit, that's the fruit from Vietnam, right? And so we put that in the chocolate, and then the polka dotted ones are raspberry pâte de fouille, and then the pink ones are a lychee pâte de fouille.
Oh, love lychee.
We have a dangerous durian one where you can get on the list for that, right? right?
And any tea flavors?
Yeah, matcha tea. Oh, my favorite. My absolute flavor, that favorite flavor we have is jasmine tea. I love it. You know, my grandma used to drink it every single day in the morning. And so now I drink it every single day.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just part of our lifeline.
Yeah, and you feel connection to your ancestors.
Absolutely.
And, you know, when you do that. But that is great that you drew upon the flavors of your culture to infuse into the chocolates.
Right.
And you've made this amazing, unique product. So congrats to you and your sister.
Thank you so much. I mean, she's running it day to day, and she's done an incredible job with the business.
Yeah. No, yeah, I got to say, though, of all the things you've accomplished, I'm sure your mom would be super proud of you. But you know that already. So.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah. Susan Lieu, congratulations. Best of luck to you
Thank
going forward.
you.
Looking forward to more shows from you. Much success.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, now I want to dig in.